Hey guys, this is part 2 of the free poker training series I'm doing on YouTube. This is on another fundamental building block of hand reading. The first one was on combinatorics, part 1. If you haven't seen part 1, you don't have to watch it to understand what's going on in this video. I do recommend watching it though if you're watching part 3, which I haven't made yet. Alright, so yeah, let's just go into it. We're going to use the same hand. And this time, we're going to assume this guy bets pot again, but this time, we're going to ask a different question. How often do you need to win to break even? So if you call here, how often do you have to call to break even? So we're going to start with our first step, which is the same thing we always do. We're always going to draw it out if we can. So, and I already took the liberty of drawing it out. So, just draw out the important parts of the problem. Okay, so there's the board, your cards. This actually doesn't matter in the hand, but whatever. So I drew out the bet size, the pot size, and how much you have to call. So our next step is to simplify. So what can we simplify? The only things you could simplify, typically, are the parts of the hand, the parts of the question that matter, or the information. The board. So can you simplify this board? No, the board doesn't even matter. I can't simplify it anymore. It just doesn't hit me. My cards don't really matter. It's really just all about these bets. And I'll let you guys try and think of ways to simplify. You can pause or I'll do it myself. So I don't like these kind of numbers. I can just make this a more easier to deal with number and still keep the problem exactly the same. So I'm going to do that. So instead of 214,400, I'm just going to make it 200,000 for everything. So his bet is 200,000. Let's put this to magenta. So it's a much more awesome color. Nope. This is 200,000. And the other one's 200,000. Okay. So 200,000 for all of these. Cool. Okay, so this is much simpler for me to deal with. I don't know about you guys, but you could simplify this even more if you wanted to. So we can just say, well, this one's kind of hard to figure out, and if you want to pause and try it for yourself, go ahead. But I'll just do it right now. I could simplify this even more. If I just said 20,000, if I just took off the last zero of every single one, the villain's still betting full pot. There's a pot size bet here, and it's a pot size bet for me to call. It works out to the same thing. I could even take off this next zero. And I could take off this zero and this zero. I could take it all the way down to 2 if I wanted. As long as he's still betting pot, and there's still, as long as he's still betting pot, it's the same exact thing. So I simplified this even more. So perhaps some of you have figured out the answer to the question just by me simplifying it. If you haven't, that's fine too. We just need to do another trick. So our next trick is dealing with this question. How often do you have to win to break even? That is an abstract question. Any question that deals with probability is abstract. So we're going to take it from abstract to concrete. And concrete just means realistic. Real, actual situation you might run into. So you can pause and figure out how you do this, or I'll just go through it. So instead of saying, what's the probability, what my percentage has to be to win, I'll just make it concrete. If I won 1 out of 2 hands, am I going to show a profit or not? Very simple. So we can draw this out pretty easy. Let's do hand 1. So hand 1, villain has ace ace, we lose, right? So villain has ace ace over here, we lose. In hand 1 we lose, how much do we lose when we lose? Hold on. Okay, so when we lose, all we lose is this $2 right here. So our villain's bet is $2, there's $2 in the pot. We put in our $2 more and we don't get it back, so we're minus 2. Okay, so let me write that down. No, we want red. Red for minus 2, that makes sense. Okay. Minus 2. Now let's play out hand 2. Let's say we have him beat this time. Okay, so we give him Queen Jack instead, and now we win the hand. So we win the 2 in the pot right here, this 2 right here, and we win this 2 right here. Let me underline it. We win this 2 plus this 2, so we win $4. Okay, so we know we show a profit if we win 1 out of 2 hands. We show a profit of $2. Well, what if we win 1 out of 3 instead? Let's see what happens there. So let's say he has Queen Jack again, same hand, and we lose. So we lose another $2. And I'll just draw this out. So hand 3, I'll just call it H3. We are minus $2. So minus this 2, plus 4, so we break even. If we win 1 out of 3 hands, we break even. So at this point in the video, I was really tempted to go into all the math behind it and how it works and show you how to do it in a calculator. But then I realized, you only need to know what you need to know. Like, you only need to know the bare minimum to get by. You don't need to know this calculation. So I wrote all these down. Okay, so I wrote all these down, and I spared you guys all the math. So you don't need to know the calculation. So a guy bets 100% pot, full pot, you need to win 33%. If he bets 90, you need to win 32%. If he bets half pot, you need to win 25%. If he bets 20% pot, you need to win 16.6. So this may seem like a lot, and it may seem overwhelming, and that's because it is, and there's a lot of unnecessary stuff here. So we're going to do another trick called, I guess you could call it chunking or simplifying, and it's a bit of a logic trick as well. I don't have a good name for it. So basically, I'm going to start very simply. We have this number, and are any of these numbers, do we not need to know them? Like, am I ever going to look at these two numbers, a 100% bet and a 90% bet? Am I ever going to change my decision based on, getting 32.1% versus 33? The answer is no. I'm never going to do that. Another one I see is, a half pot bet. Am I ever going to, really change that much from 25 to 22.2? No, I don't think so. The same goes for the 60% bet, 27.2 versus 25, just really not a big deal. And then I look at this one, 70, between 70 and 80, I really don't need to know. So between 30 and 20, I look at these, 30 and 20, those are too close, I don't need to know that. So I whittle it down to 4 through, I don't know, logic or a chunking process, but it's pretty simple. And now I want to make this pretty relatable to in practice. Instead of having these percentages, how can I say this differently? So if a guy bets, and I actually wrote it down here actually, so if a guy bets full pot, you need to win 33% or 1 in 3. If a guy bets half pot, which was this one, 50% bet, half pot, you need to win 25% or 1 in 4. If a guy bets between half and full pot, instead of saying 70, just make it more realistic. Bet that's between half and full, you need to win 29 or 30% of the time, or 3 out of 10. And if you're facing a bet less than half pot, which is about this 1/3 pot size bet, you need to win 1 out of 5 or 20%. So all that info we kind of just scrapped out and just makes life way easier. So next part of this, and hopefully the way I end every video, is actually practicing these out. So I got a bunch of practice hands, and I'll do a few with you at first and then just show the rest. Okay, So these are all hands where I bet river, and your job is to just figure out how often you need to win. So this is really like a 90% pot, but I'm just going to say it's 100%. So when a guy bets 100% or full pot, I need to win 1 in 3, or 33%. Okay, then here's the next one. I bet this amount, which is between half and full, so I need to win about 30%. And then I'll just go through these quickly. Okay, then delete that one. Okay, so try and do these on a timer. Try and do them as fast as you can, as quickly as you can. Create your own examples. All I did was run a filter for hands where I bet river. It's pretty simple to do on PT4. Maybe I'll do another video on it. Okay. And you guys can pause. I'm just going to run through these kind of quickly. I don't want to waste your time with it. Alright, so that's the end of the video. We learned another fundamental building block of hand reading, calculating EV, expected value, knowing how often you actually need to win. And part 1 was combinatorics. So part 3 will combine combinatorics and calculating EV into one hand, and you'll have to use both to actually either beat me on these hands or solve these puzzle questions or whatever you want to call it. We learned a few new tricks and did some old tricks as well. So we did drawing a figure and simplifying, which are just the commonly used ones that we're always going to use. They're so effective and I guess ubiquitous is the word. You always need them. This time we used going from concrete to abstract, which is a pretty cool one. It's harder to implement, but it can be really effective as well. We did that when we went from probability, you know, what percentage of the time you have to win versus, you know, what happens if I win 1 out of 2 times or if I win 1 out of 3 times. Then we did the last thing at the end with the percentages. You know, I didn't teach you the formula for doing it, which is how much you have to call divided by how much you have to call plus what's in the pot. You know, that's not really necessary. So I just showed you all the percentages, and there was a lot, and then we just reduced the ones we didn't need, and took it down to 4 terms. So that was kind of a chunking, logical / simplifying problem, and that was it basically. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out part 3. Peace.